Hey everyone, in this video I will go into further detail about what floaty combat really is and why it is a problem. This is mostly for the people who did not quite understand what this means, despite having examples in my last video and explaining what it is and why it is a problem. The term floaty showing up a lot more now seems to be a surprise to some fans that likely never seen some of our trailer analysis of Kingdom Hearts 3 over the last few years. Firstly, let's take a look at what the definition of floaty means. Light and flimsy. When I think of BBS and DDD combos, I think light and flimsy. When I think Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 combos, I think heavy with weight and strong. In Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, you're not stuck in the air after most types of combos, but instead usually fall almost immediately. Most combos in the air are also not overly flashy and get straight to the point. If you're a player who only plays Kingdom Hearts games once each and plays on beginner or standard, you might not appreciate or understand good combat design or even ever run into any real problems with floaty combat. But those of us who take up the game's higher difficulties or play the game more than once have these issues right in our face while we try to figure out boss patterns and how to deal with mob fights without getting hit or dying half the time. In Kingdom Hearts games, their highest difficulties tend to expose flaws in the combat mechanics, but not so much on easier difficulties, because Kingdom Hearts games are generally not designed to be really challenging outside of hardest difficulties or optional super bosses, which is fine. I do realize not everyone wants to play highest difficulties or only cares about the story or visual presentation, but good combat design should cover all difficulties, as it did extremely well in 2FM. I've watched many critical mode playthroughs on Twitch over the last few years since 2.5 came out on PS3, and it has always been interesting watching people struggle on some types of enemies or fights, and then eventually learn their options and overcome the problems, where at the end of their playthroughs they feel very satisfied and accomplished. Whenever I watch BBS and DDD critical mode playthroughs, it's usually not the same response. This is because your actual options in those games are limited on high difficulties, to where it doesn't really feel satisfying when most of the solutions to hard fights is one of a few viable options. 0.2's floaty problem became apparent in mob fights on critical mode when you would try to do a quick combo on an enemy and end up with a swift death. As I've said in the last video, in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 it was never fully safe to do normal combos on enemies in mob fights, but most enemies in those games could not just snipe you quickly without warning. And also, the game gives you decent mob control options even early on. However, in 0.2, the enemies are not only more aggressive, but most of them can either lunge across the arena into your back without warning, or shoot projectiles from behind during any combos, meaning on critical mode, you're going to be camping with magic way more often than trying to mix up your options, because there's no reward for physical combos when you get hit out of them constantly. The upside for Kingdom Hearts 3 is that similar to 0.2, you can combo cancel really easily and fast, which does help remedy the problem a bit, but it also means you're likely to not want to use finishers in mob fights with enemies that have quick attacks, while in Kingdom Hearts 2 you can get to a strong quick finisher rather quickly, some with even iframes. In BBS and DDD, it felt like air combos were extremely slow and sluggish, as well as most ground combos. It was to the point where doing any kind of physical combo in both games were not the smart way to play, which ruined a lot of the fun in the combat system that's supposed to be based on combos. In conclusion, hopefully this clears up what floaty really means, since while most people are starting to understand what it means, some still don't, despite some of us explaining it in our review videos. I want Kingdom Hearts 3 to move away from overly flashy floaty air combos to clean, smooth, fluid combos that have proper physics like in 2FM's combos. Because similar to BBS and DDD, if physical combos are bad, then there won't be a reason to want to use them. They don't need to be exactly the same combos, but it shouldn't be terribly difficult to come up with an alternative fluid combo. Moving on, next topic of discussion is the air slide everyone is all of a sudden complaining about. Many are saying how slow and laggy it is. While I do agree that it wouldn't hurt to make it a bit more fluid with some of the other movements we can do, let me also point out something that seems to be ignored. So Kingdom Hearts 2 has no air slide. It was not introduced until BBS. Air slide works the same across the rest of the games too. But here's an interesting question to everyone complaining. Have you guys ever quick ran off a ledge in Kingdom Hearts 2? Let's take a look. As you can see, Air Slide is basically exactly the same as if you quick run off a ledge in Kingdom Hearts 2. Nearly just as floaty, laggy, and the same amount of cooldown. At least in 0.2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, you can cancel it into other things, but the fact that BBS first introduced Air Slide, there hasn't been anything else to compare it to in the air. I feel this needed to be said because while I would love a better Air Slide, people are beating it up incredibly hard when it's been just the same since BBS and didn't exist before that. 2FM's quick fluid movement comes from aerial dodging into a glide. Without that, your movement is not as impressive as you might think, even in 2FM. Anyway, that's about all for this video. Hopefully this clears up floaty combos and also gives you more food for thought on Air Slide. If you want to try it yourself, load up 2FM and do an air combo, and then load up BBS, DDD, or 0.2 and do physical air combos. You should be able to easily notice the issue. As always, thanks for watching.